At precisely 3:42 a.m., my garage security system silently activated an alarm. It wasn't some raccoon or thrill-seeking teenager. It was a 5 foot 6 inch middle-aged woman lugging a city-issued storage crate around on my floor. The thermal imaging camera detected her heat source as she snuck past a reinforced door covering a prototype sonic disruptor. Military technology programmed to react to vibrations. I sat bolt upright in bed, eyes fixed on the screen. "Wrong garage!" I growled, heart racing. This wasn't the first time someone had trespassed on my land, but it was going to be the last time they did it without answering to me. I'm Marcus, a defense contractor who keeps to himself. My house is perched on the outskirts of a peaceful suburb, far enough away from HOA scrutiny to remain off the radar. Or at least, I thought so. Saturday morning, I sipped coffee out on the porch, observing a jogger jump around a trash can carelessly discarded by Vanessa, the HOA president and self-proclaimed queen of lawn furniture and mailbox symmetry. She had been a pain in the neck of the community for some time, but I had been able to avoid her wrath until I noticed the lock on my garage. My own custom magnetic padlock, a creation of mine, hung shredded and twisted. Someone hadn't merely messed with it, they destroyed it. When I opened the garage door, I froze. 5 metal crates stacked almost to the ceiling, all bearing the HOA logo. A thin tag on top read, "Emergency Storage, HOA Board Only." Let me be explicit. I don't park my car in my garage. It's a secure laboratory where I create non-lethal crowd dispersal devices. A biometric safe room within contains equipment that can bring down a linebacker without leaving a mark. And now somehow, it had been transformed into Vanessa's storage space. My phone rang. Lisa, my neighbor. "Did they use your garage too?" she asked, visibly shaken. She said the HOA had been sneaking emergency equipment into miscellaneous garages for weeks. No notice, no consent, just a general statement regarding a safety program. Vanessa had reported verbal consent. "She never asked me," I said, gritting my teeth. I texted Vanessa. No response. I called the HOA office. Voicemail straight off. By the afternoon, I was at her door. She was meticulously arranging landscaping pebbles as if doing surgery. "Care to tell me why my garage is now the storage closet for Itchway?" I demanded. She didn't even glance up. "Itchway operations. Temporary. For the safety of the community." "You busted my lock," I said matter-of-factly. "That is illegal," she smiled. "Not if it's the greater good. We assumed your garage was vacant." "Vacant? This is my home." She brushed her hand across the air in front of her. "You don't exactly shout HOA material, Marcus. Be a good neighbor." That phrase hit like a spark to gasoline. I don't boast about what I do, create systems that render crowds immobile with not around fired. But I have no patience with intruders. At the house, I inspected the vault. Everything in it was fine except for one crate that had been shoved against a proximity sensor linked to a prototype pulse emitter. Another fraction of an inch of pressure, and it might have detonated, blinding and deafening the trespasser for days. The sensor records registered a near activation at 3:40 a.m. I extracted the footage. There she was, Vanessa, in a black top and gloves, pulling a crate, staggering and bumping against the sensor wall. The screen? The screen flashed orange, 1 inch short of complete catastrophe. That evening, I installed a secondary motion alert and waited. It pinged at 3:42 exactly again. The infrared camera captured Vanessa nervously pulling another case into my garage. She froze when the wall lights flickered. The system had started to prime. I shut it down from my location, but my blood was already in a boil. This wasn't some mistake. It was a namby-pamby recklessness. The following day, I itemized each crate. These weren't generic flood materials. Radios, barricade materials, sensor modules, some even bearing labels from a federal emergency coordination program, were stored within. One radio, on being scanned, traced back to decommissioned training equipment. None of it had been lawfully transferred. The HOA simply had no business warehousing that material. I discovered an inventory form. My address was listed under active lease, along with others labeled cleared, with descriptions such as key access via utility box override. Vanessa wasn't taking shortcuts. She was completely avoiding locks. I phoned Lisa once more. Did Vanessa ever request to borrow your garage? No, she replied. Dropped off an emergency prep flyer. My garage door was being repaired. I didn't read what they left. Vanessa had been relying on neighbors being too complacent to pay attention. I called the HOA again. This time, Carl, the operations liaison, answered. Why is federal equipment just collecting dust in my garage? Comments flowed in. She broke into a mission, impossible garage, and cried foul. The HOA meeting was standing room only, seats all taken, residents abuzz with agitation. Vanessa swaggered in, sneering, oblivious. Tim held my evidence package. I stood, inserted my drive, and began. My garage was invaded by the HOA, I declared, my voice calm. Infrared video illuminated the projector. Vanessa, halfway across, pulling crates. Gasps swept the room. I presented the contents. Federal-grade gear, undocumented, situated inches from my defense systems. No vote, no consent, only lock bypasses and deception. Vanessa leapt to her feet. Those photos are illegal. We have emergency storage rights. Not in individual dwellings, I cut in. Tim stood up. She never put this to a vote, said FEMA approval, but there's no paper trail. The room erupted, neighbors whispering, others yelling. Then I produced the near-activation records, the time the system almost activated. Then Vanessa, immobile, looking into the camera. Guilty. Then the bombshell. Agent Torres advanced. I'm with Homeland Tech Compliance. This is a mishandling of federal materials. We've opened an investigation. Vanessa went ballistic. This is a setup, she bellowed. Torres clamped down on her. Crate materials showed up in several houses. No records, no supervision. The room exploded again. You lied, someone yelled. Tim signaled to suspend Vanessa. 5 hands shot up at once. Vanessa yelled, I built this HOA, and stormed out, alone. 3 weeks went by before the neighborhood could catch its breath. No more tickets, no clipboard patrols. Vanessa was gone. The audits revealed all. Embezzled HOA funds for beautification, stored excess equipment stashed in garages, forged approvals. I gave a demo, demonstrated my defense system, sonic barriers, layered alarms. Vanessa's footage looped behind me. Neighbors laughed, half dazed. Tim, interim president now, invited me to advise on the HOA's property rights policy. I consented. On one stipulation, an outright permanent privacy clause. Torres assured Vanessa was hit with civil penalties and more were pending. Her house sold quietly. She departed without a word. And then the proposal, Homeland Security's pilot initiative on residential defense integration. I accepted, with absolute protections in writing. My garage, a one-time fortress, was the template, a proof of concept for secure civilian tech. Joking neighbors, don't mess with Marcus's garage. T-shirts came next. Ask before you store. I built one in my shop. The neighborhood prospered, open garage doors, actual votes, no fear. And me? I still see that video every now and then, not out of resentment, but as a reminder. Vanessa took me for a loner. She didn't know. I break down threats for a living, with technology, with truth, and with a garage that resists.